Hi, my name is Scott here, and normally you'd find me introducing myself from Abundance Coaching, and Greg, you work with Abundance Coaching as well.
Hi Scott, how you doing?
But we're in these seats for a little bit different reason today. And today we want to introduce something to you that you may or may not have heard of, and that's an opportunity for you to get involved with helping to free women and children that are at risk. And yeah, there's a lot more that we're going to discuss about this. So yeah, let's just dive in, Greg. So tell us a little bit about Homes of Hope and what your involvement is with them.
Well, Scott, we've been involved with Homes of Hope now for 11 years, and we've got projects around the world, different countries. And we decided about 2 years ago now to really invest into rescuing women and children who had been involved in sexual exploitation and slavery. So that added to our list of projects, because we've mainly looked after orphans and widows prior to that. But we really felt when we saw the figures and the statistics of what's happening globally with women and children, we thought, wow, we have to step up and do something, you know?
Yes.
And we were connected actually quite incredibly with some people who are doing just that. And the more we studied, and the more we networked and explored and connected with people who are rescuing women and children, man, this whole thing just began to open up. And we thought, you know, we thought it would just be a tragedy actually if we didn't put some real money, some real energy, some drive and enthusiasm into rescuing these women and children. So we're involved in planning for this for some time. And then toward the end of last year, we started to work with a project, and our first girls began to come into the project.
Oh man, that's so incredible. So yeah, this video is also for us to just maybe just pull on some of your heartstrings, and maybe there's something that just inspires you in the audience or just watching the video here about just getting involved with something that's bigger than yourself. And Greg, I know you personally, and we get to work together in lots of different ways, but I know that you're the kind of person that wants to contribute, and this is one of the big ways that you have taken this contribution thing and just gone out. But why do you feel so passionate about this?
Yeah, well, I guess being a father of 3 children, and I also have grandchildren, so and you know, you just think to yourself, wow, what would happen if my granddaughter was trafficked or in slavery, or my child? You know, I can't believe what that would be like. Wow. And then when I have met girls who have actually been in the slave trade, who have been exploited, who have been abused horrendously, and I've seen not only the tragedy of that, but the triumph of their transformation when people have stepped in and helped and loved them and healed them and cared for them, then I think, wow, this is something that we can actually contribute towards helping girls recover and be restored and have a future and a hope. So, you know, sometimes I think when we see projects like this, or we see the great need, millions of slaves around the world, literally millions. You think, well, what difference does it make just to rescue this one, or 2 or 3 or 12 or 15? Well, it means a lot to that one.
Yeah, sure does.
And to the 12, to the 15, you know the story of the little boy throwing the starfish back into the sea. It makes a difference to that starfish, you know.
Yes.
So I guess we just feel compelled with this. We've met people who are in the whole business of rescuing the girls, some heroic people who put their safety at risk. Incredible people. We've met people who are at the recovery end, and so we thought, wow, we want to just stand with them, shoulder to shoulder, and support them in this incredible work. So that's how it all came about, I suppose, and our heart for it is, you know, to engage people in the Australian community, people like the people who are watching this video, with the possibility of making a difference in this whole problem of slave trade. What can you actually do to make a difference? And so we want to reach out to you today and give you some incredible opportunities But before I do that, I wonder whether I can tell you a few stories.
Oh, yeah. Stories are the heartbeat of it. Yeah. Tell us some stories, Greg.
You know, and everybody hears stories perhaps, but when you actually hear them firsthand or you hear them from the people involved, it just takes it to another level, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in Mumbai not long ago and just sitting in a little place in the middle of a red light area that's got about 15,000 women and children, and some of them are the victims of trafficking. I'm sitting in a little room, tiny room, with a leader who's working in that area and with a few people and a friend from Australia who was visiting. And as we were just chatting with some of the children and some of the women who work in the sex industry, we noticed a girl come in, you know, and she knelt down in front of us actually, and she was just a girl of 19. And she was very poor and she was very weathered already, but she was still, you could see she still had a beauty to her. And she told us her story of how she'd been trafficked and exploited and belonged to a pimp in that red light area. And she just looked up at us and she said, "Can you help me? Can you just help me get out of here? I want to escape." And she said, "My pimp sometimes comes looking for me and I run here and I hide in the toilet or I hide somewhere else because I just don't want to do this. And I feel like I'm being forced again and again and again, hundreds of times, just to be with these men, and I want to escape. Can you help me?" And I had to look at her and say, "Look, at the moment, I can't help you. We don't have a place for you right now." And it just broke my heart because there are so many women like this who actually want to be set free.
Yeah.
And you know what, Scott, the tragedy is that some of these girls are very young. Let me tell you another story. We've got a little girl in our project in Pune right now, and she's 7 years of age.
7.
7. Can you imagine?
And she's at risk?
Well, she's actually been rescued because her and her sister, who's 16 years of age, her and her sister were being trafficked by her mother. And our minds can't, can you just believe like how a mother can actually sell her 7-year-old and 16-year-old daughter? But her mother was actually trafficking her own daughters to someone that came in and pretended to be a buyer and a customer, and he was a dummy customer, and the police were waiting nearby with an NGO. And as the mother was selling and received the money, the police pounced and they rescued these girls. And, you know, it's just tragic to think of this, but they were taken to the police station. They had to go through the whole investigation. They were then placed into a home and, into a detention center, and then they were passed on to us. And so, you know, tonight, those little girls are safe and they're sitting in our home in Pune.
Yeah.
And they're receiving love, they're receiving care, they're receiving education, they're receiving food, they're receiving psychological care and counseling and group therapy. They're receiving all that they need, medical care, everything, just a loving environment in which they can be healed. And you know what? It's not going to happen overnight, Scott.
No.
This is a long-term thing.
Yeah.
These girls take years to recover from that kind of abuse and that kind of exploitation. And our commitment from Homes of Hope is to care for them until such times that they graduate from high school and also receive, you know, some kind of training in a vocation of some sort. It could be anything from even something simple like sewing to becoming a teacher. Yeah. We've got, from a previous cycle of girls, we have 9 of them who graduated with a counselor's certificate. 9, can you believe it? And so these girls are like dressed up, they've got their board on and their robe and they got their certificate. They were just refuse, the scum of the earth, like just to be used by men and beaten and abused and raped and violated. And here they've been healed and they've retained and then discovered fresh dignity and a future and a hope. You know, it's just, man, I live for this kind of thing.
Oh, man.
And, you know,
so cool.
We just want to see as many of these young women rescued, restored, recovered, and given a future and a hope, you know. And sometimes I think to myself, Scott, I have these moments, I think, heaven help me if I don't do something. I mean, heaven help me if I don't do something. I know that this is happening. I know it's happening today. I must do something. And you know, the truth is that in India today, the government admit to hundreds of girls being trafficked every single day. They admit to that. Now the NGOs tell me, Greg, it's far, far bigger than that every single day in India. These young girls are being kidnapped, they're being abused. And sometimes it's not just the fact that they're kidnapped from, Nepal or from, a nearby nation. Many of them come from Bangladesh or from rural areas. Sometimes it's even far worse in some senses, in that sometimes it's just family members who take them.
Oh.
And we've got a little girl who's in our home now in Pune. Yeah, and her story is just so sad. She was living in a slum. She saw her mother and father killed in front of her eyes, murdered. And then she was raised by an older sister. This older sister is broken and kind of twisted in that brokenness, and decided to sell her younger sister and use her in the sex trade, just at a very young age. So she was exploiting her. She was under puberty. She was before she was 12. She was being exploited. And so she was kind of getting used to just being exploited. Her older sister got pregnant, had a young child, and then when this young child was just a little boy, she was going to sell that boy, actually trade that boy to a trafficker. And her sister, who she's exploiting, heard about this and just broke her heart. They had a massive fight in the slum, a massive fight. And in the middle of the night, the older sister came into her little sister's room, who she's exploiting and who she's basically being a pimp to, selling her to men all the time, every day. And she actually, out of her anger, just poured kerosene over her little sister and set her on fire.
Oh, man.
And, there was little sister began screaming and shouting, and she's on fire. Neighbors rush in the slum area, and they put out the fire. And this little girl's taken to the hospital, terribly burned. You can see that the burn marks are still on her, and they take her to the hospital. The police are called. She's taken away eventually after she recovers from her burns and her wounds, and she's put in the government detention center. And then eventually, now she's in our home in Pune. And I tell you, this young girl who was to be burnt to death, was to be exploited, was to be used by men, was a victim in so many ways. That was her future. That was her destiny, was to be thrown on the scrap heap, literally. Thrown on the scrap heap. And now this little girl is in a place where she's being loved. She's protected. She's nurtured and honored. She's given a life with great value and a great destiny and hope, And I get excited about this, Scott, and I just think, man, if we could just rescue a little one like this, and rescue another little one, and rescue another little one. But I tell you, it's not easy to do this rescue.
No.
And it's not easy to care for the girls.
No.
I mean, when they come into the home, they've got behavioral problems. They've got social skill problems. They're used to acting out with men. They're used to trying to do various things to men to get their way. They're used to men just using and abusing them, They're used to having to fight, and they're tough and hard. And so, we have skilled carers who've got to take them through healing, therapy, many different processes to heal their hearts and let that young woman blossom into becoming all that she can become. So that's not easy. But back here in Australia, it's not easy. So I'm talking to people like you, and I'm talking to businesses and groups all over the place, trying to encourage people, hey, come on, get involved, engage with Homes of Hope in this. Let's rescue some girls, and let's restore them and give them a future. Come on, we can do it.
Yes.
So we've got sponsorship programs.
Yeah.
And you can sponsor one of these girls in our project in Pune. It requires actually not one, not two, not three, but 4 sponsors to care for one girl in this full-on intensive residential program. 4 sponsors.
Yep.
A sponsorship costs $44 a month. Actually, it's $10 a week is what we're providing it for. $10 a week, $44 a month, and it's tax deductible. It's tax deductible, so that's great.
That is great.
So
Yeah.
we need 4 sponsors for every girl, and you can imagine in our home in Puna, we've got 12 girls at the moment. We will have 15. The government have come to us and said, would you please take 20? And I said, I would love to take 20. I want to take 20. Just give me 15 to start with. We'll work with that. And so we at the moment need sponsors for these girls.
Yep.
We've got a number of sponsors who have already signed up. We need a bunch more to care for these girls. And so I'm inviting you to take out a sponsorship with your family or by yourself or with your workmates. Sponsor a girl, get involved, and contact us at Homes of Hope International, our website, homesofhopeint.com, and you will find us there and you can sponsor immediately, and we need your help.